So, just some final thoughts on the 2024 Atlantic Coast Ride. Just wanted to do a brief recap of the ride and let you know what you might have learned or just different things that happened along the way. So, I got most of the stuff wrote down. On April 12th, my brother Rodney and I, we left here in Greenville, drove to North Carolina, and we picked up John. From there, we drove down to Jacksonville. And of course, we did this with Rodney's truck. Down to Jacksonville, where we dropped Rodney's truck off at the Jacksonville International Airport, and we had picked up a cargo van at Home Depot to get all three bikes and our gear down to Fort Myers Beach, Florida. From there, we got on a fast ferry to Key West, and then we pedaled up to Jacksonville, where we dropped Rodney off. Rodney rode the Florida leg with us, and then he had to drive, go back home, go to work, and then John and I continued up the Atlantic coast. So we left on April 12th, and I finally got home on June 3rd. So 53 days of bike riding. So just trip statistics. The time was 217 hours and 21 minutes on the bike. Mileage was 2,567 miles with an average speed of 11.4 miles an hour. It was relatively flat, so the climbing and stuff was not that big of a deal, or descending or anything like that. Like I said, Rodney did the Florida leg with us. So lodging wise, we spent quite a bit of money, actually. It was $1,428. That was with Rodney to Florida, and then John and I together all the way up through Maine. What was interesting was when we looked at the time of year that we went, we timed it to where the snowbirds would be gone, so the people that stayed down in Florida for the winter would go back home. So that was in April, and thinking that, you know, camping would be plentiful. That was not the case. The snowbirds had left. The RV parks would not take tents. And a lot of the campgrounds, because it wasn't camping season yet, a lot of the campgrounds from Florida all the way up through Maine were closed. So the camping options between early April through the first part of June, for the most part, was really non-existent. So if you're going to do this route at that time of year, take that in consideration. You know, the saving grace was there was 3 of us and there was 2 of us, you know. So camping, there was 12 nights of camping, which really stunk. 18 nights in hotels. Warm showers. If you're not familiar with warm showers, just Google it online and you'll learn about warm showers. We spent 8 nights with Warm Showers host, 6 nights with people that are family, 1 night with a friend. We spent 6 nights through my Blue Green Vacation Club, and then I had 1 night on Amtrak. So the food cost was $1,373, and then miscellaneous charges was $1,656. So we spent about $928 on transportation. I bought about $300 worth of souvenirs, had $200 worth of supplies, $200 worth of repairs on my bicycle, and then 27 miscellaneous dollars that didn't really fit into any of those categories. The like I said, it worked out real well. That way we could get Rodney back home, and John and I continued. We followed the Adventure Cycling Association Atlantic Coast route, and when we made it into the Keys, it was about a 4-hour boat ride from Fort Myers Beach down to Key West, and then we spent 3 days riding through the Keys with about a sustained 15 to 20 mile an hour headwind for the first 3 days. So it was hard because we were headed straight east. Once we hit the main part of Florida, the mainland of Florida, the next 2 days, 130 miles was basically in-town riding. The population is so dense, you never really got out of that. So that there was really, that wears on you because it's just the constant noise of road traffic was really hard. In Florida, it wasn't so bad. When we got to Georgia, Highway 17 was basically the main route that runs up the coast there. We did follow the A1A a lot of the time as well. But through Georgia and South Carolina, it was all swamps. And if you followed the ACA route, it had you zigzagging to try to keep you off 17. It was nothing but swamps and trees. John and I kind of looked at one another, and we rode 17, and our comfort level with the traffic on Highway 17, given the shoulders that we had, we were comfortable with. So we deviated from the adventure cycling route and then just followed 17. And basically, Robert was our Warm Showers host in Savannah, Georgia, said just tough it out and get through Georgia and South Carolina, which we did. When we got to North Carolina, we took the Outer Banks, which you would have seen in the video earlier. Which was really neat, just riding on that thin strip of ground way out into the ocean. It just felt eerily strange being that far away. And then we kind of just followed our way up. When we got into Virginia, we got into some familiar territory for both John and I when we did the Trans Am in 2022. That part of this route followed that same route, so we were on that as well. When we got up into around Philadelphia and Boston, there was some bypasses. We took the bypass. Getting, some of the most difficult places to ride is in the bigger cities because people just don't see you. And honestly, the bigger the city, the less friendly people are towards you. So we veered around those places and made those rides more enjoyable. Though I will say, we wanted to go into Washington, D.C. We had a Warm Showers host there in Alexandria, which were awesome. And we went by the Pentagon Memorial for 9/11. When we got up into the northeastern part of the country, especially when we got back towards the shoreline, especially Maine. Maine was really, really different, and I had never seen that type of terrain before along the coastline. I really liked Maine. The towns were small and quaint, and it was really nice. But even that late in the year, in June, there was like 3 campgrounds we stayed at, and we just so happened to catch the owners on the phone, and they allowed us to stay at the campground even though the campgrounds were still closed. So just know that camping, I think if you go in a certain part of the year, camping is probably more prevalent, but there's going to be a lot of people, so is there going to be space? So that's the thing that you're going to have to, if you're going to want to do this route, you're going to have to figure out. Temperature-wise, the temps were fine for us, and never really, really hot. I think there might have been one hot day, but for the most part, temperatures were good. Rain It might have sprinkled, a light sprinkle, so it really wasn't bad riding in the rain when we had to ride in the rain. Though I don't even know if we really broke out the jackets when it did rain. I did have some mechanical issues. You know, the bike it's a 2016. At that point in time, it had probably 15,000 miles on it. I had lost pedal broke on me. Bottom bracket went bad. The bottom bracket, that's the third one I've had to put on the bike, so not for sure what's going on there. And then there's some items on the bike that are causing me some concern, some wear issues. And I think what it is it's an adventure touring bike that's really designed to not do the riding that we're doing, though it served me well. But there's some stuff that are starting to show signs of wear that would require replacement before doing another long tour. Last thing you want to have is something break and have a catastrophic failure of some type on the bike. And I'm taking steps to correct that, but that's subject of another video for another time. But the bike has definitely served me well. I think I had 5 flat tires, actual punctures this time. So it wasn't a mechanical issue with the tires. John, I think, had 1 or 2 flat. I think he just had 1 flat, and it was a puncture as well. Yeah, the bikes did fine. Suggestions. I think the best way to do this tour would be with 3 people. And the reason I say 3 people, I think if you was to go in a later part of the year where camping was more plentiful, you're not going to have the camping, so you're going to be in hotels more. And with hotel costs running $150, you know, for 3 people, you divide that 3 ways, it's $50 a person. So I think the best thing to do, honestly, is just leave the camping gear at home, warm showers, and hotel it. One of the things that we did when we knew we were going to stay in a hotel, our mileage for the day was longer because we knew we didn't have to set up camp and we didn't have to tear down camp. So that allowed us to, we just said, okay, if we're going to stay in a hotel, we're going to ride further. And when you look at what we initially estimated time-wise, we shaved a bunch of time off of the ride because of our lodging. Our lodging allowed us to ride further on any given day, and it cut the time down. Not that we wanted to do it faster, but it just seemed to make more sense to do it that way for us. So that's what John and I had did. So that would be my recommendation. Things I learned along the way, gear-wise, yeah, I before I left on the trip, I thought I might need more, looked for gear, couldn't find anything, and when I got out on the ride, gear-wise, yeah, I didn't need for anything. So the video on the bike and gear that you saw before we took off on the trip is basically what I took and what I had and what I would take again. So I think that gear list is pretty rock solid for me, for how I like to bike tour. Again, recommendation, just hotel it on this particular route. The other thing that was interesting was when we did the Trans Am and when we did the Michigan Mitt tour, being mainly in the Midwest and flyover country, the people are really super friendly and the lifestyles are similar to what I'm used to. It was interesting to see the differences in lifestyles in South Florida and the Keys, and up near Maine was much different than what I'm used to here in the Midwest. I just thought it was interesting point to make, because I just, my experience on the other two trips, Trans Am going east to west across the United States, for the most part, it felt basically the same. And then the Michigan Mitt tour, that felt basically the same. This was different in those two areas. So yeah, I think it was worth mentioning that how people live in those areas. It does change from place to place in the United States. So just wanted to do that. So yep, that's it for the final thoughts. If you do have any questions and you're wanting to do this route, you can reach out to me on YouTube through the comments, because I'll get the notification, and then I can, we can converse if you need any assistance or any help on that. So with that, that'll bring this 2024 Atlantic Coast Tour to a close.